This girl looks really, really cool. There's a really nice blue undertone here that you can just see, and I think it's going to get bluer as she gets older. It almost looks a little purpley here, but that's because I think it's the reds in the snake are kind of bringing it out, but this is one of the nicest albino litters I've produced, I think. What's up, snake fans? Dave Palumbo here for Muscle Serpents Daily. It's raining all day here in Cape Coral. I can't remember another day since I've moved here over 7 years ago that it's rained all day. I almost feel like I'm in New York, actually, but it's not that cold. It's still pretty warm. It's still 70 degrees. So, having said that, and it's also the sun is starting to come down right now, we're going into the snake room. Pablo's feeding again today. We're going to take a look at some boas. We're going to take a look at some ball pythons if I get a chance, and you never know what else might strike my fancy, but I definitely want to show you this one half blue line boa litter that we had about 6-8 months ago. We're going to see how it's doing. Stay tuned. All right, a little update on our yellow Hypo Amazon Treebo, since we've got him in his new little display cage here. I noticed that he will hang out on the substrate all day, all morning, and then when the lights start to go out and it gets dark, I see him climbing all over the cage. And so they're definitely night-dwelling tree boas, and he's doing pretty good here. It's a little, I don't know if it's too cool for him here, but he doesn't sit on the hot spot, so I have to assume he likes the cool area here. Let's see if we can get him riled up a little bit there. There he is. Beautiful snake. Look at that. Look at that eye. Look at that. That is just a beautiful, beautiful looking snake. I gotta get another one. I gotta try to breed these at some point. They're hard to sex when they're young, though. That's the problem. So it's hard to buy. I want to buy a captive born one, but I want to get it. This is a male. I want to get a female. And people won't guarantee the babies. So it's almost like you gotta get a couple of them and then hope you get a female in there. All right, we got our Kenyon Sandbow here. She killed both pinkies Pablo put in there, and look, she's eating. These things love to eat. I think this one's been growing really well. I gotta tell you, this one's doing really well. You know, I originally had it in a much bigger hatchling-ish tub, and it wasn't eating. And then someone told me, the girl I bought it from said, you got to put it in a smaller container, and she was right. It's doing really well, knocking down the food, no problem. So, look at that. They are cool. I got to get more of these things. All right, here's a nice boa litter I mentioned yesterday, actually, and I haven't shown you this. I bred this Aztec Motley Sunglow female with my blue line Pastel Sunglow male last year, or this past year, 23. And in March, end of March, we produced this litter. So these babies are all 50% blue line Pastel. So you're gonna notice that they have like a blue tinge to them, some of them more than others. But remember, that's a line bred trait, and we bred a blue line to a female that had no blue line in her whatsoever. So you're not going to get as much blue as you would go when you go blue to blue. But you know, you got to start someplace. So I think that Aztec kind of has a bluish look to it anyway, tinge, and with the Motley gene. So I thought it would work really well. This is once again somewhat of a blue line baby. Aztec, possible super hypo, but I don't think it is. Probably single hypo, sharp sunglow. Really, really nice female we produced. She's gotten really nice looking over these last couple months. And at some point, I'm gonna have to sell these guys, or sell some of these guys, because I have a pretty big litter from this. And I know albinos sell really well, so I haven't decided, because I want to, because the blue Pastel it takes time to come out a lot of times. Sometimes it can take even 2 years, but I'm not gonna hold these for 2 years, but this is a really, really nice looking baby. All right, now this one is just, this doesn't have any Motley, it doesn't have any Aztec in it. It's a litter mate to the one I just showed you. This is also this is probably more likely a super hypo. You can definitely see the blues in this one. This one's got a lot more blue than the other one had. And it's obviously a sharp sun glow. Everything's gonna be sun glow, or everything's gonna be albino at least, because both parents were albinos. This is also a female. Really nice. This girl looks really, really cool. There's a really nice blue undertone here that you can just see, and I think it's going to get bluer as she gets older. It almost looks a little purpley here, but that's because I think it's the reds in the snake are kind of bringing it out. But this is one of the nicest albino litters I've produced, I think, at least in the sharp sun glow line. All right, now this is a Motley Aztec. You can see the striped tail. We know there's the Motley in there. So this is Motley and Aztec, sharp sun glow. And this little boy is, I don't know, it's hard to tell if there's blues in here or not. He's kind of in shed. He has a lot of saturation in him. And if you notice, if you remember from yesterday's blue line video I did where I showed you some blue lines, some of them don't look quite as blue. Some of them don't look quite as blue, but they get the saturation. So all the places where you would see white get really saturated with like a reddish, purplish color. And that's what I see in this one. Just a lot of saturation. So if you like a snake that has like saturated with color, this male is definitely something that you might be interested in. A lot of good genes in here too. The incomplete dominant Aztec, the Motley, darkens things up. And then of course, the sun glow. All right, here's a really nice female. This is a sharp sun glow, Motley. So we get that Motley gene in here. There's no Aztec in here. See that nice striped tail. And you cannot have two copies of the Hypo gene when you have Motley because they're allelic to each other. So if you have Motley, you can only have one copy of Hypo. So this is probably just a Motley sun glow, but it's definitely blue line because you can see a lot of saturation here along the sides. It's a really nice albino. This is just exquisite looking. It's got some great pinkish, purplish colors, and I'm sure that's the blue line influence here. And it just makes it that much nicer. The Motley and the blue line seem to work really well together. Really good. But it makes sense because Motley darkens things up, so it's gonna make the bluer. The bluer, I should say. All right, here's a nice fresh shed. This is an Aztec, sharp sun glow. So there's no Motley gene in this one that I can see, but there seems to be, there's Aztec. You can see that little squared off saddles here. That's Aztec influence. Look at that tail. Look how detailed that tail is. All the way down there, squared all the way to the bottom. Look how red that tail is. Dark red. Obviously the snake just shed. There you can see the shed. And a lot of like just wacky pattern. And that's what Aztec does. It's a very busy pattern. It's got those squares, which I like a lot. I think it's kind of, you don't really see squares in boas. So it's kind of really unique. Motley creates circles. And these snakes have put on some really good size, you know? Yeah, they're 6 months old, but they've gotten big. They're good eaters, they're good growers. Anyone's interested, let me know. All right, here's one of my favorite. This I think is my favorite of this whole litter, or one of my favorites, because it's really, really well defined, and I think it's that blue. Might have the most blue line influence to it. This is Motley Sun Glow, and you can see rather than squares, we're seeing more, circles with the striped tail. That's Motley right there. I don't think there's Aztec in here. I think this is just Motley Sun Glow. And this little boy has the most defined pattern that I've seen of all the babies that I produced. Once again, I'm not sure if that's because of the blue line influence in it or not, but if you like well-defined, high contrast, this snake's definitely got it. Look at that beautiful red striped tail. Beautiful, beautiful male. Putting on really nice size too as well. Here's a really nice, really light female that we produced from that litter. This is a Motley, Sun Glow. So 1 copy of the Hypo gene because there's Motley in here, so we can't have super Hypo. We can only have 1 copy of Hypo because remember they're allelic to each other. So this is a Motley Sun Glow, but really, really light. It's amazing how different all these babies look. Some of, like the last one I just showed you, was really dark, well-defined, you know, well-outlined patterning. This one, totally saturated with color, but really light and dilute. Almost like it looks like a super pastel ball python almost. It's like the color's just taken out of that. And I've seen that in Motley Sun Glows before. So it's not that surprising, but it's surprising just because all the babies look so different. And I think it's because of that blue line influence, I really do. All right, there's our super hypo leucistic berm who's in shed. Pablo fed her yesterday and she's already looking for more food. Yeah, she hasn't eaten for 3 weeks, so she definitely needs something big. We should give her like a small rabbit, Pablo, tomorrow. Hold her over a little bit. She's definitely looking a little on the thin side. So we'll give you some food tomorrow, I promise. I promise. Yeah, she's my youngest one that I have right now, so, but I think she can definitely handle a small rabbit. We'll film it tomorrow. All right, just showing you a little female we produced a couple months ago. Actually, it's a little boy. IMG, Hypo, Pink Panther Pastel line, and PIT positive. And you can see all the black. Look at all the black speckling. That's the IMG, increasing melanistic gene. It's depositing its melanin as the snake grows a little bit more every single day. This snake will never get completely black because of the Hypo gene in there and that VPIT positive gene in there. So it's never going to look completely dark, but it's going to get chocolatey looking. It's going to be very, very striking looking at some point. But I wanted to show you now because when we see this snake in another year from now, it's going to look completely different. I'll show you what it's going to look like. I was just talking about how dumeral boas like to bury themselves in the substrate, and I was bragging about how boas don't usually do that well. This girl's doing it. This is our VPIT positive IMG female that we've been growing up. Hopefully we can breed her at some point, maybe next year. And you can see, look at all that deposition of all that melanin over the last couple of years. So different from what you just saw, right? Of that male I just showed you, but they're gonna look pretty much the same. He'll probably be a little light of that male because she doesn't have a Hypo gene in her. I mean, he does. Look at that head. Look at how it camouflages him with the cocoa blocks. Unbelievable. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today. I'm getting soaked here, standing in the rain, but it's okay. It's very refreshing. It's like getting baptized almost. When it's warm out, it's nice to get rained on. When it's freezing cold, like it is probably now in New York and up north, probably not so fun. Matter of fact, it might even be snowing up there for all I know. But down here in Florida, it's still beautiful. And I'll take the rain anytime because you know what? We're just putting the male ball pythons back in with the females. And hopefully we'll see some nice breeding action. Rain is good for breeding. And on that note, you guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, hit that like button. I'll see you back tomorrow morning.